I used my spare key to catch my wife in bed with our next-door neighbor at 1:47 p.m. on a Wednesday, the same guy I helped through his divorce, lent my lawnmower to 47 times, and watched his kids for free. So I exposed them at the neighborhood BBQ in front of 200 people, destroyed his contracting business, and ended up dating his ex-wife. If you've got about 30 minutes and maybe some popcorn, settle in. This is the kind of story that starts with a forgotten stack of papers and ends with me living a life I never could have imagined. Every twist is real. Every detail matters. And yeah, it gets messy, but that's what makes it worth telling. But here's what I didn't tell anyone for 4 months. I knew Kyle's truck was in my driveway 73 times before I finally walked through that door. So, why did I wait? Why did I document everything and do absolutely nothing until I was ready? I'm Rob Matthews, a high school history teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina. For 7 years, I thought my wife Lauren and I were building a simple, happy life in our suburban neighborhood. Willow Creek Estates, the kind of place with an HOA, annual BBQs, and a Facebook group where everyone knows everyone's business. Then I used my spare key one Wednesday afternoon and discovered she'd been having an affair with Kyle Harrison, our next-door neighbor, a divorced dad I'd helped through his split, the guy I'd barbecued with, lent tools to, babysat for. The betrayal was doubled, not just my wife, but the friend I'd made in good faith. What followed was a calculated multi-front revenge that destroyed his contracting business, shattered Lauren's social circle, triggered custody battles, and forced them both to face consequences in the only place they couldn't escape, home. This is about how proximity can be the cruelest punishment, and how karma sometimes has a sense of humor. Let me take you back to the beginning. Willow Creek Estates is one of those Charlotte suburbs that looks perfect on paper. 240 homes, all with the same beige siding and acceptable lawn height. Because the HOA will fine you if your grass exceeds 3 inches? I'm not kidding. We moved there right after we got married, Lauren and me. I was 28, she was 26, and we were stupid in love in that way where you think matching bath towels are the height of romance. I taught history at Lincoln High, same school I've been at for 11 years now. Lauren is, I guess, a freelance graphic designer, logos, websites, marketing stuff. She worked from home, which seemed perfect at the time. She could set her own hours, we'd have lunch together sometimes. And she was always there when I got back from school at 4. We weren't rich, teacher's salary, freelance income, we were comfortable. We had date nights on Fridays at this Italian place called Romano's, where the pasta was overpriced, but the wine was decent. We had a routine. I'd grade papers at the dining table while she worked on her laptop in the living room. We'd watch Netflix before bed, argue about whether to get a dog, plan vacations we couldn't quite afford yet. It was boring in the best way, you know? The kind of boring that means you're stable and safe and nothing bad is going to happen. I was wrong about that last part. Kyle Harrison moved in next door about 18 months before everything exploded, February 2022, middle of winter. I remember because there was this freak ice storm and his moving truck couldn't get up the driveway, so a bunch of us neighbors helped haul boxes up the icy slope. Kyle was 37, recently divorced, and he had 2 kids, Emma, who was 9, and Noah, who was 6. Cute kids. Emma was sharp, asked a million questions. Noah just wanted to play with every dog in the neighborhood. Kyle seemed like a decent guy going through a rough patch. He owned a contracting business, Harrison Home Solutions, and drove this white Ford F-150 with his business logo on the side. Within a week of moving in, he was knocking on our door asking to borrow things. First it was a hammer, then a level, then my lawnmower because his was still packed somewhere in his garage. I kept count. I'm a teacher, counting is kind of my thing. And by the time everything went to hell, Kyle had borrowed tools from me 47 times. 47. Most people would have bought their own after like 5. But Kyle just kept asking, and I kept saying yes, because I'm an idiot who thought being a good neighbor meant something. Lauren loved him too, not in the way I'd find out later, not yet, but she thought he was sweet, struggling, needed support. When Kyle told us about his divorce, how his ex-wife Patricia was controlling and cold and made his life hell, Lauren brought him a casserole. When he had a contractor emergency and needed someone to watch Emma and Noah for 3 hours, we did it. I helped Noah with a school project about dinosaurs. Emma asked me questions about the Civil War because she knew I taught history. They started calling me Mr. Rob. Looking back, I should have seen it then, but I didn't. I saw a guy who needed help, and I'm the kind of person who helps. That's my thing. That's what got me into this mess. Our marriage was fine. Not perfect. Whose is? But fine. Lauren and I had been together since college. We knew each other's rhythms. She liked things organized. I was more scattered. She was the planner. I was the go-with-the-flow guy. Our sex life was fine. Not fireworks, but we were in our 30s. That's normal, right? You trade passion for comfort. You trade spontaneity for Netflix and takeout on the couch. I thought we were solid. The first crack I noticed was around June 2022, about 4 months after Kyle moved in. Lauren started taking her phone everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Bathroom, bedroom when she went to grab laundry, kitchen when she made coffee. I asked her about it once, jokingly like, "What, you planning the heist of the century on that thing?" And she snapped at me, said she had a demanding client, a big project, couldn't miss calls. I believed her, because why wouldn't I? Kyle started coming over more, borrowing sugar, asking for advice on his deck project, showing up during the day when I was at work and Lauren was home. At the time, I thought it was neighborly. Lauren mentioned it casually. "Oh, Kyle stopped by to return your wrench." And I didn't think twice. Marcus, my buddy who teaches English at Lincoln, joked one day, "Your neighbor's at your place more than you are." We both laughed. Funny how jokes turn into prophecies. Our 7th anniversary was March 12th, 2023. I made a reservation at Romano's, our spot. I even got her flowers, those white roses she likes. Dinner was weird. Lauren checked her phone twice during appetizers. When I called her on it, she got defensive. "I'm allowed to have clients, Rob. I'm allowed to work." We fought. Small fight, nothing huge, but it left this residue, like the air between us had gone sour. She apologized later that night, blamed stress, and we went to bed without talking about it. That fight was the first time I thought, "Are we okay?" I should have trusted my gut, but I'm the guy who avoids conflict, who smooths things over, who says it's fine, even when it's not. So, I let it go. In April, Lauren started working out. Suddenly, she's doing yoga, buying new workout clothes, getting her hair done every 3 weeks instead of every 2 months. I thought it was great. I told her she looked amazing, because she did. When she said, "I'm just tired of letting myself go," I supported it. I didn't ask why now. I didn't ask why the sudden change. I just said, "That's awesome, babe," and went back to grading essays about Reconstruction. I'm not a suspicious person by nature. I teach kids about history, about how to analyze sources and question narratives, but I never applied that to my own life. I took things at face value. Lauren said she was working late? Sure. Kyle said he was just borrowing a wrench? Cool. Emma and Noah adored me, and I adored them back? Wholesome. I had no idea I was living in a lie. The night everything started to crack, really crack, was July 15th, 2023. I came home from summer school, tutoring at 6 p.m. Kyle's truck was in our driveway, that white F-150 with the stupid logo. Lauren said he'd been helping her move a desk in her office. I walked past the living room and saw her hair was messy, her face flushed. She said she was just hot from lifting furniture. She showered immediately, which wasn't weird on its own, but combined with everything else, my stomach turned. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Lauren snored next to me, and I thought, what if? What if Kyle wasn't just borrowing tools? What if those client meetings weren't client meetings? What if my wife, who used to look at me like I hung the moon, was looking at someone else that way now? I pulled out my phone and started a note. July 15th, 6:04 p.m. Kyle's truck in driveway, state approx, 45 Menzulers. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I'd prove myself wrong and delete the note and laugh about it later. I was right about everything except the laughing part. For the next 8 weeks, I became a detective. I left work early sometimes. I had 4th period free, so I could slip out by 1 p.m. if I wanted. I'd drive by the house, check the driveway. Kyle's truck was there a lot. A lot. I started logging every single time. Date, time, how long he stayed. I kept a spreadsheet. Yeah, I'm that guy. The guy who tracks his wife's affair in an Excel file because he's a teacher and organization is the only thing keeping him sane. The first time I drove by and saw his truck there, July 18th, 3 days after I started tracking, I sat in my car at the end of the street for 45 minutes, just watching, waiting to see if he'd come out. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought I'd have a heart attack right there in my Honda. He finally left at 2:47 p.m. I watched him drive past me, whistling, completely oblivious. I wanted to scream. Instead, I drove back to school and taught a class on the Industrial Revolution. I started noticing patterns. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, mostly. Sometimes Wednesday. Never Monday or Friday. Those were the days I had fewer meetings and could potentially come home early. They were smart about it, calculated. That made it worse somehow. If it had been spontaneous, reckless, I could have told myself it was passion, stupidity, a mistake. But this was planning. This was a schedule. This was a choice they made over and over and over. By mid-September, I had 73 entries. 73 times Kyle's truck was parked in my driveway while I was at work. Always weekdays. Always between noon and 3 p.m. I cross-referenced it with Kyle's custody schedule. His kids went to their mom, Patricia, every other week. And guess what? The truck visits lined up perfectly with the weeks Emma and Noah weren't home. They were using his custody schedule to cheat. They were organized about it. I should have been impressed. I wasn't impressed. I was destroyed. Every number in that spreadsheet was another knife in my back. Every entry was another lie, another betrayal, another afternoon when I was teaching kids about integrity, while my wife was in our bed with the guy next door. I wasn't impressed. I was furious. But I was also calm, which scared me more than the fury. I wasn't the kind of guy to flip tables or throw things. I was the kind of guy to document everything and plan. That's what teachers do. We plan units, we plan lessons, we anticipate questions. So I planned this. I created a fake Facebook account to watch the neighborhood group. I noticed Lauren and Kyle love reacting to each other's posts within seconds. Inside jokes in the comments. Nothing explicit, but enough. I checked Lauren's location. We shared locations. She never thought to turn it off. And one Wednesday in August, she told me she had a client lunch. I checked. She was home. All day. I drove by. Kyle's truck was there. I sat in my car 2 blocks away and cried for 20 minutes. Then I dried my face, drove back to school, and taught a class on the French Revolution like nothing happened. Marcus noticed I was off. He pulled me aside one day in the teacher's lounge. "You okay, man? You've been weird for weeks." I almost told him. I almost said, "My wife is cheating on me with our neighbor, and I've been documenting it like a psychopath." But I didn't. I just said I was tired. He didn't push, but he said, "If you ever need to talk," and left it at that. Good guy, Marcus. I bought a burner phone, cheap Android from Walmart, paid cash. So Lauren wouldn't see what I was doing. I started screenshotting her texts when she left her phone unattended. Her passcode was her birthday. She never changed it. I found deleted message threads to someone saved as K in her trash folder. The messages were careful, vague. Miss you, can't wait to see you, wish you were here. Nothing explicit enough to be obvious, but enough. I kept every receipt, every screenshot, every log, every breadcrumb. I was building a case and I didn't even know what for yet. Divorce? Confrontation? I just knew I needed proof that I wasn't crazy. By mid-September, Lauren and I were basically roommates. I told her I was snoring and moved into the guest room so she could sleep better. She seemed relieved. We barely touched anymore. I'd come home, we'd eat dinner in silence, she'd go to her office, I'd grade in the living room. We were living parallel lives under the same roof. I thought about confronting her. Every day I thought about it, but something in me said, not yet, not until you're ready. I didn't know what ready meant, but I knew I wasn't there yet. October 18th, 2023, Wednesday. That's the day everything became real. I'd been tracking for 12 weeks at that point. I knew Kyle would be there. It was his custody week. Emma and Noah were at Patricia's, and Lauren had told me she had a design meeting at 1 p.m. I checked her location, home. I told my principal I had a dentist appointment. I left school at 1:30 p.m. I drove home. My hands were shaking. I parked a block away because I didn't want Kyle to see my car and bolt. I walked up to my own house, the one I'd been paying the mortgage on for 7 years, and I saw his truck, that white F-150, parked brazenly in my driveway like he owned the place. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my spare key. I keep it separate from my main keyring, always have. My hand was shaking so hard I almost dropped it. I slid it into the lock. The click was so loud, I swore Kyle could hear it from inside. The door opened silently. I'd oiled the hinges a month ago, because I'm the guy who fixes things, even when everything is broken. The house smelled like Lauren's vanilla candle. The AC was humming. Everything looked normal. The flower pots on the porch, the welcome mat I bought at Target, the framed photo of us from our wedding day hanging in the entryway. Normal, except nothing was normal anymore. I heard them before I saw them, voices from upstairs. Lauren's laugh, the laugh she used to give me, but hadn't in months. I walked to the stairs. I've climbed these stairs 10,000 times. I know which steps creak, the 4th and the 9th, so I avoided them. I reached the landing. The bedroom door was halfway open. I pushed it open slowly. The bed, my bed, our bed, the bed I'd been sleeping in every night for 7 years, was a mess. Lauren and Kyle were there, naked. It was 1:47 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon in October, and my wife was in bed with the guy who lived 30 feet away. The details seared into my brain. Kyle's jeans on the floor next to my dresser. Lauren's bra hanging on the lamp my mom gave us as a wedding gift. The sheets half off the bed. The sheets Lauren insisted we buy from Pottery Barn because they're an investment. I remember thinking absurdly, I'm glad I didn't make the bed this morning. Would have been a waste. Lauren saw me first. She screamed, grabbed the sheet. Kyle froze, his face going white. I stood in the doorway. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't move. I just stared at them. Kyle tried to talk. Rob, man, I held up a hand. Don't. Lauren tried next. Rob, please, this isn't... Don't. I looked at both of them for a long moment, memorized it, filed it away. Then I said, I'll be at Marcus's. Don't call me. I turned and walked out. I got in my car, a 2018 Honda CR-V, I noted absurdly, and drove. My hands were steady. I obeyed every traffic light. At a red light, I watched a dad and his kid cross the street, holding hands, and I broke. Just for a second. One sob. Then the light turned green, and I kept driving. I showed up at Marcus's house and said 5 words. I need a lawyer, today. Marcus didn't ask questions. His wife Sarah made coffee. I sat on their couch and told them what happened in 3 sentences. I caught Lauren cheating with Kyle an hour ago. Marcus asked what I needed. I said, a place to stay and a divorce lawyer, the meanest one you know. I stayed at Marcus's place for 5 days. I called in sick to school, used my saved sick days. I cried a lot. Sarah brought me food I didn't eat. But by day 3, my teacher brain kicked in. I pulled out my phone logs, my screenshots, my 73 truck spreadsheet. I started planning. Marcus watched me work and said, "You've been planning this?" "Not planning," I said. "Documenting. There's a difference." "What are you going to do?" "Everything." On day 5, I met with Amanda Pierce, Marcus's cousin-in-law. She's a family lawyer. A shark, Marcus said. She looked through my evidence, every log, every screenshot, every detail, and said, "This is the most well-documented case I've seen in 15 years. North Carolina is a fault state. Adultery is grounds. We'll destroy her in court." I asked about Kyle. "He's not married to you," Amanda said, "so legally he's just collateral. But North Carolina has alienation of affection laws. You can sue him for damages. We can also mention him in proceedings, which will make things uncomfortable." "Good," I said. "I want uncomfortable." Amanda advised me to move back into the house. I resisted. I couldn't be near Lauren, but she explained, "If you leave, you forfeit leverage. Stay. Make her uncomfortable. Document everything." I realized proximity is a weapon. I moved back in on October 26th. Lauren was shocked. She tried to talk. I ignored her. I slept in the guest room. I worked late. I barely acknowledged her. I was a ghost in my own house. And I was still next to Kyle. Every morning, I'd see him in his driveway getting into his truck. I'd wave, "Hey, Kyle." Cold, pleasant, like nothing happened. It was psychological warfare, and I was winning. I spent the next 3 weeks planning my revenge. I had a notebook hidden in my car where I outlined everything. 3 phases. Phase 1, legal destruction, file fault-based divorce. Use North Carolina's alienation of affection law to sue Kyle for damages. Get everything. House, savings, alimony. Phase 2, social exposure. The neighborhood's annual school BBQ was November 15th. Perfect timing. 200 plus people attend. Parents, neighbors, Kyle's clients, community members. I'd expose the affair there, publicly, undeniably. Phase 3, career and financial impact. Kyle's business depended on local reputation. 40% of his contracting clients were from Willow Creek. Social exposure would kill his business. Lauren's freelance clients were mostly neighbors. She'd lose them too. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was surgical. I needed one more ally, Patricia, Kyle's ex-wife. I hesitated. We barely knew each other. But I decided she had a right to know. I messaged her on Facebook, asked to meet for coffee. She showed up wary. I told her everything, showed her the logs. Patricia went pale. He told me he was focusing on the kids, she said. He was with her? Every other week when Emma and Noah were at your place. She was quiet for a long time. Then, what are you going to do? I'm going to make sure he pays. I wanted you to know because his custody arrangement might need to adjust. Patricia looked at me with something like respect. Keep me posted. 2 weeks later, I volunteered to help organize the school BBQ. Principal Davis was thrilled. I'd never volunteered before. This gave me access. I was on the planning committee. I knew the schedule. I knew when speeches happened. 6 p.m., peak attendance. I arranged for the AV tech to have a projector ready for a surprise announcement. I told him it was a teacher retirement tribute. He believed me. I prepared a USB drive, photos of Kyle's truck logs with dates and times, screenshots of Lauren's texts, a timeline, a spreadsheet. I wrote a speech, short, factual, devastating. I had 19 days until the BBQ. I made every single one count. Lauren tried to fix things in early November. She cried, apologized, said it just happened, that she never meant to hurt me, that she still loved me. I listened in silence. Then I said, "Did you love me on July 15th when Kyle was here at 6 p.m.? Or August 23rd when you lied about the client lunch? Or any of the 73 times his truck was in our driveway?" She went white. You counted? I'm a teacher. Counting is what I do. She said, "It just happened. 73 times. That's not just happening. That's a lifestyle choice." 1 week before the BBQ, Kyle cornered me in the driveway. "Rob, we need to talk." "No, we don't." "I'm sorry, man. I cut him off. "You borrowed my lawnmower 47 times. I watched your kids. I helped you through your divorce. And you fucked my wife in my bed. We have nothing to talk about." Kyle looked like he wanted to punch me. He didn't. I walked inside. The week before the BBQ, I went to school every day, taught my classes, graded papers. To everyone else, I was normal, but at night, I rehearsed my speech. I checked my USB drive 10 times. I confirmed Patricia would be there. She was bringing Emma and Noah. Kyle would be there too. Community obligation. Marcus texted, "You sure about this?" I've never been more sure of anything. I'll be there, front row. November 15th, 2023. The day I burned it all down. I woke up at 6 a.m., made coffee, graded a few papers, showered, dressed in my favorite teaching outfit, khakis, blue button-down, Lincoln High hoodie. I looked in the mirror and thought, this is the last day of my old life. I drove to school early to help set up. The BBQ was on Lincoln High's football field. Grills, picnic tables, a small stage for speeches. By 5 p.m., over 200 people had shown up. Teachers, students' families, neighbors from Willow Creek, local businesses. Kyle was there with Emma and Noah. Lauren arrived with a friend, trying to act normal. They were carefully not standing near each other, but I knew. Marcus gave me a nod from across the field. Showtime. At 6 p.m., Principal Davis took the mic, thanked everyone for coming, talked about school spirit, community. Then, and now, one of our history teachers, Rob Matthews, has a few words. I walked to the stage. I've done this 100 times. Teaching, parent nights, faculty meetings. I wasn't nervous. I plugged in my USB drive. The projector lit up behind me with a title screen. The Truth About Trust. I looked out at the crowd. 200 faces. I saw Lauren in the back, confused. Kyle near the food tables, relaxed. I started talking. For those who don't know me, I'm Rob Matthews. I've taught history here for 11 years. I believe in truth, evidence, and accountability, values I teach my students every day. Today, I'm here to talk about a piece of history that happened right here in our community. I clicked to the next slide. A photo of my house. I live in Willow Creek Estates, 2347 Maple Drive. Great neighborhood, good people. Or so I thought. The crowd was confused but attentive. Lauren's face started to change. She knew. I clicked again. A spreadsheet appeared. Kyle Harrison's visits to 2347 Maple Drive, July the 15th, October 18th, 2023. 73 entries, date, time, duration. The crowd gasped. For 14 weeks, I said. My neighbor Kyle Harrison visited my home 73 times. Always when I was at work, always for 1 to 3 hours. Why? Next slide. Screenshots of Lauren's messages to K. Miss you. Can't wait. Wish Rob would work later. Someone in the crowd said, "Oh my God." For 11 months, I continued, my wife Lauren and my neighbor Kyle carried on an affair. In my home, in my bed, while I was here, teaching your kids about integrity. Heads turned. Everyone looked for Lauren and Kyle. Lauren was frozen, face white, tears starting. Kyle grabbed Emma and Noah, trying to leave, but the crowd blocked his path. Not intentionally, just people moving, reacting, pulling out their phones. Someone yelled, "You're a piece of shit, Kyle." Another voice, a woman I recognized from the HOA board. "Lauren, how could you?" A parent whose kid I taught last year shouted, "Mr. Matthews is a good man. You should be ashamed." The crowd was turning. I could see it happening in real time. Neighbors who'd waved at Kyle every morning were now glaring at him. Parents who'd hired him for renovations were shaking their heads. Someone started a slow clap. I couldn't tell if it was sincere or sarcastic, but others joined in. It was chaos controlled by shock. Kyle's face was red. He was trying to shield Emma and Noah from the crowd, but Emma was asking questions. "Daddy, why are they mad? Daddy, what did you do?" Noah was crying. That hurt to watch. But I didn't start this. Kyle did. Lauren's friend, the one she came with, was trying to pull her toward the parking lot, but Lauren couldn't move. She was rooted in place, staring at me like I'd just murdered someone. Maybe I had, in a way. I'd murdered the version of herself she wanted people to see. The creative, friendly, trustworthy Lauren, that Lauren was dead now. I killed her with a PowerPoint and a spreadsheet. I held up a hand. The crowd quieted slightly. Not completely, but enough to hear me. I'm not here for pity. I'm here because I believe in consequences. Kyle, you built your business on trust from clients, many of whom are here tonight. How can they trust you to build their homes when you couldn't respect mine? I looked directly at him. Kyle's eyes were wet. Good. Lauren, you built your career on creativity, but I guess the most creative thing you did was lie to my face for almost a year. I heard murmurs of agreement. Someone said, "Tell him, Rob." Another person. About time someone stood up. Final slide. I'm filing for divorce on grounds of adultery. I'm also pursuing a civil suit against Kyle Harrison under North Carolina's alienation of affection law. Thank you for your time. I unplugged my USB drive, handed the mic back to Principal Davis, who looked like he'd just witnessed a car crash, and walked off the stage. The crowd parted for me, like the Red Sea. Some people patted my back. A mom whose kid was in my AP class hugged me and said, "You're so brave." Brave? I didn't feel brave. I felt empty. But also lighter. Like I'd been carrying a boulder for months and finally set it down. Marcus caught up with me at the edge of the field. "Dude, you're a legend." "I'm tired," I said. "You just nuked their entire lives in front of 200 people. You're allowed to be tired." I looked back at the crowd. Kyle had finally made it to his truck with Emma and Noah. Emma was sobbing, her face buried in Kyle's shoulder. Noah was asking, "Are we in trouble? Did we do something bad?" My chest tightened. Those kids were innocent. They didn't ask for any of this. But neither did I. Lauren was still standing near the stage, surrounded by a few people, some trying to comfort her, most just staring. One neighbor, Karen from 3 doors down, said loudly enough for me to hear, I always thought something was off about her. She smiled too much, that fake kind of smile. I turned and walked to my car. The parking lot was buzzing. People were on their phones. I heard snippets of conversation. Did you see that? Oh my God, I can't believe. I always liked Rob. He didn't deserve. Kyle's business is done. No one's going to hire him now. I got in my car, closed the door, and sat in silence for a minute. Then I started the engine and drove home. I drove home, sat in my driveway for 20 minutes. Then I walked inside, poured a whiskey, and waited for the world to catch fire. It did. By the next morning, the neighborhood Facebook group had exploded. I didn't even have to check it myself. Marcus screenshotted it and sent it to me. 50+ posts and comments within 12 hours. Some supported me. Rob Matthews is a class act. I can't believe they did that to him. Some attacked Lauren and Kyle. How could they be so selfish? And with kids involved. Some just gossiped. I always knew something was weird when Kyle's truck was there so much. I thought he was doing work for them. The posts got brutal. Someone commented, Kyle's business is called Harrison Home Solutions, but apparently he was solving his own problems in Rob's home. Another, Lauren's portfolio says she designs authentic brands, but there's nothing authentic about her. People were vicious in that way that only neighbors who've been waiting for drama can be. The moderators tried to lock the group, but it was too late. Screenshots had already spread to other Charlotte community groups. Nextdoor, Twitter. Someone even posted it on TikTok with that dramatic voiceover AI. And then he showed them the receipts. It had 50,000 views in 2 days. I didn't post any of it. I didn't have to. I lit the match, the neighborhood poured gasoline, and watched it burn. Within 2 weeks, Kyle started losing clients. I didn't track it deliberately. People just told me. Marcus heard from a parent at school that Kyle lost a $30,000 deck project. A neighbor mentioned her cousin was canceling Kyle's contract to finish their basement. By week 3, I counted 8 lost contracts from people in Willow Creek alone. That was 40% of his active projects, gone. Kyle posted a desperate apology on his business Facebook page. I saw it because someone forwarded it to me. I made a personal mistake, it read, but my professional work stands. I've been a contractor for 15 years with excellent reviews and a commitment to quality. I hope you'll judge my business on its merits, not on my personal life. The comments were merciless. Your personal life reflects your character, and your character is garbage. I wouldn't trust you to build a doghouse. How can we trust you'll show up when you were sneaking around behind your neighbor's back? His Google reviews tanked. People who'd never even hired him left 1-star reviews. Unethical. Homewrecker. Can't be trusted. I didn't do that. I didn't ask anyone to do that, but it happened anyway, and I can't say I felt bad about it. Lauren's situation was just as brutal. She lost 5 freelance clients in 10 days. One sent an email that somehow made its way to me. Neighborhood gossip travels fast. It said, I'm terminating our contract effective immediately. I can't work with someone who lacks integrity in her personal life. How can I trust you to represent my brand when you lied to your own husband for a year? Lauren tried to pivot to find clients outside Charlotte, but her digital footprint worked against her. Her LinkedIn got trolled. Her portfolio site got comments linking back to the BBQ story. She was blacklisted in local design circles, and the internet never forgets. She knocked on my door one night in mid-December. I hadn't changed the locks yet. Stupid of me, honestly, so she just walked in. She looked like hell. Hair unwashed, dark circles under her eyes, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie I recognized from college. Are you happy? She said. No greeting, just that. Are you happy now? I was grading papers at the dining table. I set down my pen. No, I'm not happy. I'm not anything. You destroyed my life. Kyle's life. Those kids' lives. I didn't destroy anything, I said, keeping my voice calm. You did. I just made sure people knew. You didn't have to make it so public. You humiliated me in front of everyone I know. You humiliated me for 11 months. I just returned the favor in one night. She started crying. Real, ugly crying. Part of me wanted to comfort her. That's who I am. That's what I do. But I didn't move. She said, I know I hurt you. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. But what you did, this is too much. You're cruel. You're vindictive. This isn't who you are. I stood up. You don't get to tell me who I am anymore. You lost that right. Rob, please leave. She stood there for a minute, wiping her face with her sleeve, looking at me like she was hoping I'd crack, hoping I'd forgive her, or at least show some emotion other than cold indifference. But I didn't. I just stared at her until she turned and walked out. After she left, I sat on the couch and felt nothing. I thought I'd feel satisfaction. I thought I'd feel vindicated. But I just felt empty. That night, I changed the locks. All of them. New deadbolts, new keys. I sat on the floor with the old locks in a pile next to me and thought, this is what closure looks like, hardware from Home Depot. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Amanda Pierce, my lawyer, was everything Marcus promised, a shark in a pantsuit. Our first court date was in January. Lauren's lawyer tried to argue for a 50-50 split of assets, claiming Lauren contributed equally to the marriage. Amanda pulled out my evidence, the logs, the screenshots, the timeline. North Carolina is a fault state, meaning adultery matters in divorce court. The judge was a woman in her 60s who looked at Lauren over her reading glasses and said, Mrs. Matthews, your choices have consequences. I got the house, 70% of our savings, and, this was the part that felt surreal, Lauren was ordered to pay me spousal support for 2 years. Not a lot, just $500 a month, but it was the principle. She made more as a freelancer than I did as a teacher, and the judge factored in her adultery. Amanda called it punitive alimony. I called it karma. Lauren moved into a tiny apartment in South End across town. I heard she was barely scraping by. Her parents, who'd helped with our down payment, sued her separately to recover their money. She lost that too. The alienation of affection lawsuit against Kyle was even more satisfying. North Carolina is one of the few states that still allows you to sue your spouse's affair partner for damages. It's an old law, almost archaic, but it works. Kyle's lawyer tried to settle immediately. They knew they'd lose in court. Kyle paid me $25,000, everything he could afford after losing his business. I put it in a savings account and didn't touch it. Blood money. Patricia filed for an emergency custody modification the same week as my BBQ exposure. She cited moral unfitness and instability, Kyle's affair during their separation, his financial collapse, the community scandal. The family court judge was sympathetic. Kyle's custody dropped from 50-50 to every other weekend only. Emma and Noah would primarily live with Patricia now. Kyle was devastated. I heard through neighborhood gossip that he'd broken down in the courtroom, sobbing, begging the judge to reconsider. The judge said, "You made choices, Mr. Harrison. Now you live with them." Patricia texted me after the hearing. "Thank you. I couldn't have done this without your evidence." I replied, "The kids deserve stability. That's all that matters." But it wasn't all that mattered. Not really. Because 4 weeks after the BBQ, Emma found out the full details. She was at school, 4th grade, Mrs. Peterson's class. Kids talk. Kids are cruel. Someone's older sibling had seen the Facebook posts, and the story trickled down to the elementary school yard. A boy told Emma, "Your dad is a homewrecker." Emma didn't know what that meant. She asked her friend. The friend said, "It means he did bad stuff with someone's wife." Emma went home confused. She asked Patricia. Patricia tried to explain gently. "Daddy made some mistakes, sweetie, but Emma is smart. Too smart." She said, "Can I see?" Patricia should have said no, but Emma insisted and Patricia was exhausted. So she showed her one Facebook post. Just one, a sanitized version. But Emma grabbed the tablet and started reading other posts, comments, screenshots, details no 9-year-old should ever see about her father. Patricia called me that night. "Emma knows everything. She read the Facebook posts. She's been crying for 3 hours. She's asking me if her dad is a bad person, and I don't know what to tell her." My stomach dropped. "I'm so sorry. I didn't think—" "Nobody thinks about the kids, Rob. That's the problem." She hung up. I stared at my phone for a long time, then I threw up. Literally threw up in my kitchen sink. I caused this. Emma's pain, Noah's confusion, I caused it. Kyle deserved consequences, but Emma, she was innocent. That was the first time I questioned what I'd done. A week later, it got worse. Kyle had a breakdown in front of his kids. It was his scheduled weekend with Emma and Noah. his first visit since the custody change. He picked them up Friday night, and by Saturday morning, neighbors heard shouting from his house, loud, guttural sobbing. Then silence. Patricia showed up at noon. Kyle's front door was open. Emma and Noah were sitting on the front steps, scared and confused. Kyle was inside, sitting on his living room floor, surrounded by broken glass. He'd smashed his phone, a picture frame, a coffee mug. He was crying so hard he couldn't breathe. Emma said, "Daddy scared us." Patricia got an emergency protective order that afternoon. Kyle was ordered to stay away from the kids until he completed a psychological evaluation and attended therapy. Emma and Noah didn't see him for 6 weeks after that. Kyle's house went dark. Literally dark. He stopped turning on lights. I could see from my bedroom window. His house was just a black shape at night. I saw him once during the day through his kitchen window. He was sitting at his table, staring at nothing. Just staring. I thought about going over there, checking on him, but I didn't. What would I even say? I caused this. Part of me thought he deserved it. Part of me wondered if anyone deserves to break like that. I started seeing a therapist in December, Dr. Helen Park, trauma and betrayal specialist, Marcus insisted. He said, "You just nuked your entire life. You need professional help processing that." I resisted for 2 weeks, then finally called. Dr. Park was in her 50s, Korean American, with this calm energy that made me want to both open up and run away. Our first session, she asked me to tell her what happened. I gave her the short version. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Do you regret what you did?" "No, yes, I don't know. They deserved consequences." "And the children?" I was silent. She said, "Revenge is a fire. It burns what you want it to, and sometimes more." I left that session feeling worse, not better. But I kept going back. By January, I had a routine. Therapy every Tuesday at 6 p.m., school Monday through Friday, grading papers at night. I stayed in my house. Kyle had moved out in December, couldn't afford it, sold at a loss to some young couple who had no idea about the drama. They seemed nice. I didn't tell them anything, not my story to tell anymore. I redecorated, painted the bedroom a different color, sage green instead of the beige Lauren had insisted on. Bought new sheets, new comforter, threw out the old ones. I couldn't sleep on them anymore, couldn't even look at them without seeing Kyle's jeans on the floor. I adopted a dog from a rescue in late January, a mutt, part lab, part who knows what, 3 years old, named Benny by the shelter. He was calm, house-trained, and didn't ask me any questions. Perfect companion. Marcus joked, "You're officially starting over." "Feels more like crawling out of a hole," I said. But yeah. In therapy, Dr. Park asked me in February, "What did the revenge give you?" I thought about it, really thought. Validation, I guess. Proof I wasn't crazy. Proof that what they did was wrong and that it mattered. People saw it. People knew. And now, 3 months later, I don't know, I don't think about them every day anymore. That's something, right? That's growth, she paused. But do you think about Emma, about what she saw? I felt tears prick my eyes. All the time. That's growth too, accountability. Recognizing that actions have consequences, even justified actions. I cried in that session, first time I'd cried in therapy. It felt like something broke open, something I'd been holding in since October. I cried for Emma, for Noah, for the mess I'd made trying to clean up someone else's mess. I threw myself into teaching, started a new AP history elective on modern American history, mentored a kid named Jaden who was struggling, rough home life, parents fighting, reminded me of myself in a way. Jaden told me one day after class, "You're the only teacher who actually gets it, Mr. Matthews." That hit me harder than I expected. I realized this is what I'm good at, helping kids, teaching, not revenge, not spreadsheets of betrayal, just showing up and giving a damn. I ran into Patricia at Harris Teeter in late February. I was buying groceries, single guy groceries, sad bachelor meals for one. And I turned a corner, and there she was. We made eye contact. For a second, I thought she'd turn and leave, pretend she didn't see me. She'd have every right. I exposed her ex-husband publicly, dragged her kids into it. But she didn't leave. She approached. "Hey, how are you?" "Surviving. You?" "Same." She hesitated. "How's everything?" Weird, different. I don't know. How are Emma and Noah? They're in therapy. Emma's angry, Noah's confused. But they're okay. They're resilient. She looked at me. I wanted to say, thank you for the evidence. I know it was complicated, but it helped with custody. I'm sorry about Emma, about the Facebook posts. I didn't think. None of us did. She smiled sadly. But she'll be okay. Kids heal. Slowly, but they do. We stood there in the produce section for a minute, surrounded by apples and oranges, and I thought, this woman gets it. She's been through the same hell, maybe worse. She doesn't hate me. She doesn't pity me. She just understands. We should grab coffee sometime, she said. If you want, no pressure, just, I think it might help to talk to someone who knows. I'd like that. We exchanged numbers. I walked to my car thinking, maybe there's life after this. Maybe not the life I planned, but life nonetheless. We started meeting for coffee once a week. Wednesdays at 11 a.m., Starbucks on South Boulevard. We'd sit outside if the weather was nice, talk about everything and nothing. Her nursing job, she worked in the ICU at CMC Maine, long shifts, stressful but fulfilling. My teaching, the kids, the lesson plans, the small victories. We swapped war stories about Kyle. She told me things I didn't know, how he'd gaslighted her during their marriage, blamed her for everything, made her feel crazy. I told her about Lauren's lies, the 73 trucks, the way I documented everything because I was terrified I'd forget or doubt myself. Patricia laughed, a real laugh, and said, we should write a book. How to survive being cheated on by the same asshole. We'd make a fortune. I laughed too. Really laughed. First time in months. It felt good. Rusty, but good. We talked about other things too. Movies we'd seen, books we'd read, plans for summer. She liked hiking. I'd never been much of a hiker, but I said I'd try it. We talked about our families, her parents in Asheville, my mom in Charleston, normal things, easy things, things that had nothing to do with betrayal or revenge or Facebook posts. By April, Marcus noticed, we were grabbing beers at a sports bar near school, watching a Hornets game neither of us cared about. He said, you seem lighter. Yeah, you smile now. You were dead behind the eyes for months, man. It's good to see you back. I've been hanging out with Patricia. He raised an eyebrow. Kyle's ex? It's not like that. We're just friends. Marcus grinned. Sure, and I'm the King of England. I threw a napkin at him, but he wasn't wrong. I'd thought about it, about Patricia, about whether it was too soon, too weird, too complicated. We were both damaged. We'd both been betrayed by the same person. Was that a foundation or a red flag? I didn't know. In May, Patricia invited me to Emma's soccer game. I hesitated. I texted back, are you sure that's a good idea? Emma asked. She replied, she wants you there. That surprised me. I thought Emma would hate me. I'd exposed her father, destroyed his reputation, taken away her every other week routine. But Patricia said Emma had asked for me specifically, said she missed Mr. Rob. I went. Saturday morning, 9 a.m., youth soccer field, off Providence Road. I sat in the bleachers next to Patricia. Emma saw me before the game started, waved, smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, tentative one, like she was testing if I'd smile back. I did. After the game, Emma's team won 3-2. She scored 1 goal. Noah ran up to me. Mr. Rob, did you see me? I played goalie. He hadn't played goalie. He'd been a defender. But I said, you were great, buddy. Emma was more reserved. She walked over slowly, said, thanks for coming. Of course. You played awesome. She looked at me. Are you still mad at my dad? I knelt down to her level, looked her in the eyes. I'm not mad anymore, Emma. I was hurt, and I did some things I'm not totally proud of. But I'm not mad. Do you hate him? No, I don't hate anyone. That was a lie, but I didn't want Emma carrying that weight. She nodded, then quietly, I don't hate you. That broke something in me. I hugged her. She hugged back. When I stood up, Patricia was crying. She mouthed, thank you. After the game, we went for ice cream. Me, Patricia, Emma, Noah. We sat at a picnic table outside a local shop, and it felt normal, like a family. Not the family I'd imagined 7 years ago, but a family nonetheless. Emma asked me questions about my dog. Did Benny know any tricks? Could they meet him sometime? Noah told me about his new obsession with dinosaurs. Patricia sat next to me, our elbows almost touching, and she looked happy. I looked happy too. I could feel it. In June, Patricia and I went to dinner. A real dinner. Not Starbucks, not ice cream with the kids, just us. She suggested it one Wednesday after our usual coffee. Do you want to grab dinner sometime? Like actual dinner? No pressure, just... I think it might be nice. I said yes before I could overthink it. We went to a restaurant in Dilworth. Nice, but not fancy. The kind of place where you can wear jeans but still feel like you're trying. She wore a blue dress, I noticed. I noticed everything about her that night. The way she laughed, the way she listened when I talked, the way she didn't fill every silence with noise. We talked about everything except Kyle and Lauren. Movies, music. She liked old jazz. I liked 90s alternative rock. We argued playfully about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. She said yes, I said no. We agreed to disagree. We talked about teaching and nursing, about how exhausting it is to care about people for a living. She got it. She understood in a way most people don't. At the end of the night, I walked her to her car. There was a moment, one of those moments where time slows down and you know something's about to happen. She looked at me. I looked at her. I almost kissed her, but I didn't. She smiled. I'm not ready yet. Me neither. But maybe someday? Yeah, maybe someday. I drove home thinking about second chances, about how sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to something you didn't know you needed. I wasn't in love with Patricia, not yet, but I could see it. I could see a future where I was happy again. Not the future I'd planned with Lauren. This was different, better, maybe, built on truth and shared pain and mutual respect instead of routine and avoidance. I sat on my porch that night with Benny at my feet and thought about the last 8 months, the betrayal, the spreadsheet, the 73 trucks, the BBQ, the fallout, Emma's tears, Kyle's breakdown, Lauren's anger, the therapy, the dog, the coffee dates with Patricia, all of it. Was it worth it? The revenge, the exposure, the consequences? I still don't know. I don't think there's a right answer. They deserve to be held accountable. I believe that. But Emma didn't deserve to read those Facebook posts. Kyle deserved to lose his business. But did he deserve to break? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. What I do know is this. Revenge doesn't heal you. It validates you. It gives you proof that you were right, that you weren't crazy, that the world saw what you saw. But it doesn't make you whole again. Only time does that. Time and therapy and new relationships and choosing to move forward instead of staying stuck in anger. I kept every receipt for a year, every log, every screenshot, every piece of evidence. I weaponized it. I used it to destroy 2 people and protect myself. And it worked. I won. But winning didn't feel the way I thought it would. It felt hollow, necessary, but hollow. The thing that actually healed me, teaching Jaden about the Reconstruction era, and watching him light up when he understood. Adopting Benny and taking him on walks every morning. Sitting across from Patricia at Starbucks and laughing about stupid things. Seeing Emma wave at me from a soccer field. Small things. Normal things. Things that had nothing to do with revenge. One evening in late June, I was cleaning out my desk and found the spare key, the one I'd used on October 18th, 2023, to walk through my door and discover the truth. I held it in my hand for a long moment, felt the weight of it, remembered the terror and the rage and the awful clarity of that afternoon. Then I walked to my kitchen, opened a drawer, and dropped it in next to a new set of keys. Keys to Patricia's house. She'd given them to me the week before. Just in case, she'd said. In case you ever need a place to be. I closed the drawer and smiled. Sometimes you need a key to unlock the truth, but you don't need to carry it forever. Fast forward to April 2025, 18 months after the BBQ that changed everything. Patricia and I had been officially dating for 6 months. We took it slow. Therapy for both of us. Long conversations about what we wanted, what we feared, what we could handle. We weren't kids. We knew what betrayal looked like. We knew how easy it is to mess things up. So we were careful, intentional. It was the healthiest relationship I'd ever been in. I spent most weekends at her place with Emma and Noah. They called me Rob, not Dad. I never asked them to call me anything else. Kyle was their father, broken as he was. But I was there. I helped with homework. I went to soccer games. I taught Noah about dinosaurs. Turned out he was obsessed with the Cretaceous period. Emma asked me questions about history, about the civil rights movement, about why people do bad things. I answered honestly, without sugarcoating, but gently enough that she could understand. Patricia told me one Saturday morning while we were making pancakes, "You're the healthiest relationship I've ever had." "Same," I said, and I meant it. I haven't seen Lauren in over a year. Last I heard, she moved to Greensboro, got a job at a marketing firm, was rebuilding her life. Good for her. I mean that. I don't wish her ill. I don't wish her well. I just don't wish her anything. She's irrelevant. Indifference is the final stage of healing. Kyle moved to Raleigh, rebuilt his contracting business under a new name. He sees Emma and Noah twice a month. Court-ordered visitation. The kids say he's better. He went to therapy. Stopped drinking. He's trying. I respect that from a distance, but I have no desire to reconnect. He sent me an email last Christmas. "I know I can't undo what I did. I'm sorry. I hope you're doing well." I read it, didn't reply, deleted it. That chapter is closed. I still live in Willow Creek. Same house, same job. Benny is a year and a half old now, 70 pounds of pure love and terrible breath. I was nominated for Teacher of the Year at Lincoln High. Didn't win, but the nomination meant something. My students made me a card that said, "Best teacher ever. Thanks for not making history boring." I cried when I read it. The neighborhood has moved on from the scandal. There's new drama now. Someone's fighting about fence heights. Someone else didn't mow their lawn in the HOA-approved time frame. I'm just Mr. Matthews, the history teacher, again. Normal, anonymous, in the best way. One evening in late April, I sat on my porch with Benny and thought about everything. The betrayal, the revenge, the fallout, the healing, the life I have now compared to the life I thought I'd have. Kyle and Lauren took 7 years of my life. 7 years of marriage, trust, partnership. They destroyed it. And for a long time, I defined myself by that destruction. By the spreadsheet, by the 73 trucks, by the BBQ exposure. I was Rob, the guy whose wife cheated with the neighbor. Rob, the guy who exposed them publicly. Rob, the guy who kept receipts. But that's not who I am anymore. I'm Rob, the guy who teaches history and actually cares if kids learn. I'm Rob, the guy who adopted a dog that farts in his sleep. I'm Rob, the guy who makes pancakes on Saturday mornings, with Patricia while Emma and Noah argue about what toppings are acceptable. I'm Rob, the guy who's learning to hike even though I hate it because Patricia loves it. I'm Rob, the guy who survived betrayal and chose to rebuild instead of staying bitter. The truth is, revenge gave me power when I felt powerless. It gave me control when everything was chaos. It gave me validation when I thought I was losing my mind. And I don't regret it. They deserved consequences. Lauren deserved to lose her social circle and her clients. Kyle deserved to lose his business and his cushy custody arrangement. But revenge didn't make me happy. It made me feel justified. There's a difference. What made me happy? This life, this porch, this dog, these weekend pancakes, this woman who understands what it's like to be betrayed and chose to trust again anyway. These kids who call me Rob and ask me to play Uno, even though I always lose. The real revenge isn't the BBQ exposure or the lawsuit or the social media explosion. The real revenge is this. I'm happy. Genuinely, quietly, unexpectedly happy. And they're not. Lauren's rebuilding in a new city where nobody knows her. Kyle's in Raleigh trying to convince clients he's trustworthy. I'm here, in the life I chose, surrounded by people who chose me back. That's the real victory. I looked out at Willow Creek, same beige houses, same green lawns, same HOA rules. The neighborhood that witnessed my worst day and my best revenge. The place I could have left but chose to stay. Because leaving would have meant they won. Staying meant I reclaimed what was mine. Benny nudged my hand with his nose. I scratched his ears. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. My phone buzzed, a text from Patricia. "Dinner at my place tomorrow. Emma wants to make spaghetti." I smiled and texted back, "I'll bring garlic bread." I stood up, stretched, and walked back into my house. The house I repainted, the house I reclaimed, The house that used to be a reminder of betrayal, but was now just home. I closed the door behind me, locked it with the new locks. The old spare key was still in that kitchen drawer, buried under takeout menus and batteries. I hadn't looked at it in months, didn't need to. That key opened a door to the truth once, but I didn't need it anymore. I had new keys now, to Patricia's house, to a new life, to a future that wasn't defined by what I lost, but by what I found. Yeah, I kept every receipt. For a year, I kept every log, every screenshot, every piece of evidence. I used them to fight back, to reclaim my power, to prove I wasn't crazy. But at some point, you have to stop keeping receipts. You have to stop keeping score. You have to choose to live instead of just survive. I chose to live, and that's the happiest ending I could have imagined.